Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're digging into a real classic in the self-help world, You Can Win by Shiv Khera. We've gone through a pretty detailed review to really understand it. So our mission really is to unpack this bestseller, understand its core ideas, its fundamental principles, and pull out the most impactful lessons for you. We want to see, does this book, nearly 30 years old now, still work as a toolkit for, well, self-transformation? And there's this quote right at the heart of it. It really makes you think, winners don't do different things. They do things differently. Keep that in mind as we talk. What could that actually mean for you in what you're pursuing? Right, so let's set the scene a bit. You Can Win, Shiv Khera, first published way back in 1998. It's around 300 pages, definitely self-help, motivational stuff. But what's really interesting beyond its age is how it's lasted. It's been translated into, well, loads of languages, Indian languages, other international ones. Shows it connects, right?
Absolutely. And the review we looked at really highlights that its main goal isn't just, vague, get motivated advice. It's specifically trying to get people what Kara calls a winner's mindset.
Yeah.
So it's really about building positive habits, boosting self-esteem, properly building it up, and ultimately leading a life that feels, purposeful. He gives a pretty clear roadmap for that.
And it keeps coming back to that core idea, doesn't it? Winners don't do different things. They do things differently. It's such a powerful shift in perspective. Suggests success isn't some secret trick or a brand new path necessarily. It's more about how you approach things, your attitude, your method. So how does he actually make that practical? Because it's not just theory. He lays out a kind of blueprint. The book's structure is, well, very practical, 11 chapters, and each one is like a building block for success. You've got things like the importance of attitude, motivation, goal setting, interpersonal skills, even leadership comes into it.
Yeah, and what's really interesting about that structure, it's so action-oriented. It's not just a random list. It feels like a progression. You start inside with attitude, then build out to motivation, goals, then how you deal with others, your skills there, and finally leadership. It's like a whole arc. And like you said, it instructs. It doesn't just inspire. It's full of practical exercises, real stories, checklists, things to make you reflect, self-assessment tools, and chapters often wrap up with key takeaways, sometimes even worksheets so you actually do something with it.
Where it makes you apply it.
Yeah.
And the writing itself helps too, right? It's not dense. It sounds like it's pretty simple, clear, direct.
Exactly. Very impactful because of that. He uses anecdotes, stories with a clear moral, quotes from famous people, plus bullet points, those actionable bits we mentioned. It keeps it engaging. Definitely doesn't feel like you're reading some heavy academic textbook. Makes complex stuff feel reachable.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me. How does a book from 98 still get rated so highly, like 4.5 out of 5? And why does it still feel relevant to people today? What's the core reason it still clicks?
That is the key question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it comes down to what the review called simple language, profound thoughts. Kara's genius isn't just making it easy reading. It's how he takes potentially complex ideas, like, say, behavioral concepts, and makes them seem like common sense, almost. He shows attitude isn't just a feeling, it's a choice you make daily, and it affects everything. That kind of clarity turns vague advice into something you can actually use, makes it work for anyone, really, no matter their background.
And those inspiring stories you mentioned.
Yes.
It's not just the big names like Lincoln or Edison or Helen Keller, which are powerful.
Yeah.
But he also includes stories about, regular people, anonymous heroes.
Right, and that mix is clever. It makes the lessons stick. You can connect with the historical figure's struggle, maybe, or see yourself in an ordinary person's win. It makes the principles memorable.
So it feels quite universal.
Definitely. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, that universal relevance is a huge part of it. Covers personal growth, sure, but also professional life, ethics, social stuff. So it doesn't matter if you're a student finding your way or a pro trying to climb the ladder or an entrepreneur, the principles hold up. They kind of echo modern ideas too, like growth mindset or EQ. Even though they were written earlier, they just last.
And there's something else that really makes it stand out, especially compared to maybe some other self-help stuff. It's focus on values and integrity. That feels quite strong.
It really is. Unlike maybe some books that focus purely on, get rich quick or just external success, Khera puts character, ethics, integrity right at the foundation. It's about sustainable success. It's not just about winning, it's about how you win, winning the right way.
Okay, so strong points. But look, even classics can have areas people point to. The review did mention some potential, let's say, weaknesses. It brought up overused anecdotes. Does that make sense? Like, if you read a lot of these kinds of books, do the stories lose their punch?
It's a fair point. And yeah, some stories, like you said, Lincoln, Edison, they do pop up a lot in motivational writing.
Yeah.
So for someone who's, let's say, a seasoned self-help reader, they might feel a bit familiar, maybe repetitive, but Kara often uses them to make a very specific point, kind of giving them a slightly different angle.
Yeah.
And for someone new to the genre, those familiar stories could be really effective anchors. They make the lesson easier to grab onto. So familiarity isn't always bad.
Okay. And what about the idea that it can seem slightly idealistic, like maybe too optimistic about how fast a mindset shift can change things, especially when people face really complex, big picture problems, social or economic ones?
Yeah, that critique is there too. The book focuses heavily on individual agency, which is powerful,
Mhm.
but it perhaps doesn't always dive deep into those larger systemic barriers that exist outside of individual control. It keeps the focus very much internal.
Right. And being from the late 90s.
Exactly. Some dated references might appear here and there. Technology, certain cultural examples perhaps. But, and this is the crucial thing the review stresses, despite these points, the core principles, they haven't aged. They feel just as relevant now. Because basic human psychology, what drives success, what builds resilience, that stuff is pretty timeless.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit more. Let's touch on some of the quotes. They really capture the essence. Just listen to these and see how they land for you. Winners see the gain, losers see the pain. Simple, but powerful. The size of your success is measured by the strength of your desire, the size of your dream, and how you handle disappointment along the way. That one hits hard. Your positive action combined with positive thinking results in success. Action and thinking. And this one. Ability teaches us how we do. Motivation determines why we do. Attitude decides how well we do. Really breaks it down.
Those quotes really do nail the book's core philosophy, don't they? Like, winners see the gain, losers see the pain. It seems simple, just optimism. But digging deeper, it feels like Kara is challenging you to actively reframe setbacks. Don't see failure as the end. See it as information, something to learn from to adjust your approach. It's about proactive resilience, not just hoping for the best.
Yeah, less passive.
Exactly. And they all weave together that idea of mindset, action, and pushing through. It's about shifting how you see things, moving from focusing on limitations to focusing on possibilities, and then actually doing something about it consistently.
So, wrapping things up,
Yep.
the final verdict seems to be that You Can Win is, yeah, more than just a motivational read. It really is positioned as a toolkit for self-transformation.
Yeah, and based on the review, it seems particularly good for certain people. If you're just starting out with self-help books, it's a great foundation, solid place to begin. Also really useful for students, maybe professionals feeling stuck or needing a mindset boost. People may be struggling with self-esteem issues or trying to break bad habits. And apparently even teachers or trainers find it useful for the stories and practical principles they can share. Its hands-on nature makes it adaptable.
And that central lesson running through it all seems to be you need to lead yourself first before you can effectively lead or influence others. So, what does all this mean for you listening right now? Maybe just think about this as you go about your week. How does that focus Kara has on character, on integrity, on leading yourself? How might that apply not just to your own personal goals, your wins, but also to how you interact in your community, your workplace, even your family, how you lead or influence, even in small ways? And maybe reflect on this too. How could consistently trying to do things differently, applying that mindset shift, even to advice you've heard before, or challenges that seem familiar, how could that unlock something new for you? A different level of transformation, maybe a bigger impact than you expected?